We have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 35 of Urgency of Change. This week's episode is Krishnamurti in conversation with Asit Chandmal, entitled Thought Cannot Investigate into Intelligence. Next week is Krishnamurti in conversation with Buddhist writer and teacher Christopher Titmuss on the subject of meditation. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. For more information about our activities and programs, such as our volunteer program at Brockwood Park in the UK, we are online at kfoundation.org. You can also find our daily quotes and videos on Instagram and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. Krishnamurti and Asit Chandmal were friends for many years, and Krishnamurti would often stay with him when in Bombay. Chandmal studied engineering in London, where he later taught mathematical economics, before becoming finance director at Tata Motors. His interest in computing led to his involvement with many Silicon Valley startups. A trustee of the Krishnamurti Foundation India, he was also a keen photographer, and in 1985 published the book 1000 Moons, a book of photographs illustrating a year in Krishnamurti's life. This conversation took place at Brockwood Park in 1982. Krishnamurti asks, "Do you accept that intelligence is not the product of thought? What do you have left when you don't use the brain to inquire? What is not contaminated by thought? Can your brain observe something whole without any kind of fragmentation?"
Would you accept real intelligence is not the product of thought? Right?
Is it the product of anything at all?
Anything at all.
Are you saying it exists?
If intelligence is the product of thought, then thought is mechanical. Thought can never be non-mechanical.
There are two separate things. One is whether intelligence is the product of thought.
Which is generally considered product.
That's right.
That's why they're investigating into the process of thought.
Because
You follow what I'm saying?
I see. You're saying that they want to know what is intelligence, and therefore they want to know what is the thinking process, because they feel that intelligence
Is a product
is based on the thought process. Yes, is the product of, related to. Now,
Is that clear? Please,
Yes.
discuss it.
Yes,
I'm not saying it is so.
right. So
I'll say it is so little later on.
I understand. So one has to talk about what is thought and what is intelligence.
Now, if you once admit that intelligence is not the product of thought, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then thinking has no importance.
Yes. So
You understand?
not quite. I'll tell you why. I think you're going a little fast for me.
I just caught it there when I went to the toilet.
So even if intelligence is not the product of thought, you said that if intelligence is not the product of thought,
Not the product.
then thought is no importance. But
I
this-
stick to that now.
No, but sir, negatively it could be important. Thought could destroy intelligence.
What?
Thought could destroy intelligence.
That's just it.
So are you saying?
Watch it, watch it.
So thought is important because it could destroy intelligence.
Yes.
Hmm?
So thought is a mechanical process that will keep it to the machinery.
That's it.
Hmm?
Yes.
So you want to find out what is intelligence.
Yes.
Don't introduce thought into it.
All right.
So inquire what is intelligence which is not touched by thought.
Yes, I understand that.
Right?
Inquire what is intelligence.
Not you using thought to inquire. Then you stymie yourself.
I follow. I follow. So, I follow it in the sense that you are saying don't use thought or the thinking process to inquire into intelligence.
Yes. Because intelligence is not the product of thought.
I don't know that as at the moment.
No, you don't. But inquire.
Yes. So if you say that don't use thought to inquire, what do you use?
That's just it. Well, I'll go into it. But be quite sure the thought cannot produce intelligence. It has produced atom bomb, it has produced a war, it has produced telephone. Thought has produced all that.
Yes, that's clear.
But you are inquiring to something which thought cannot inquire. You are asking what is intelligence, but it's not the product of thought. If it is, then you are operating with it.
I accept it. All right. That's clear. The way you said that,
Of course, you got it. I could see it in your eyes.
It's clear. So if it's not that, which it is not, and you can't use that tool, the thought process, to inquire into it, what are you left with?
Huh?
How do you inquire?
That's just it. Now, but we must, both of us must be quite sure the other.
Yes, I accept it. I can see that now. Because I can see it obviously, because if it is, then everything would be intelligence, because everything is thought and
Of course.
it's not intelligence. Yes. There's no such thing as inefficient thought, good thought, bad thought. It's all that's clear.
So what the computer experts, the business, Japan, America, are inquiring into thought.
Yes. Because they feel that is intelligence.
Yes.
They'll understand intelligence if they understand the thinking process, which they want to do for their other reasons here. And you are saying that's the wrong approach.
Yes.
I see. And that's why they're stymied, because they'll never reach.
That's right. You got it. Therefore, you follow, the Indians have said suppress thought, control thought. You follow?
I know they've said it, but I don't follow. Why have they said it?
Because they say if thought stops, the other may exist.
Yes, they've said it.
Yes, of course.
Does that mean
All that meditation is that.
Does that mean, sir, they had an insight into this other thing?
No.
Then it was,
No, they thought they would have any. Look, sir, Perhaps the Buddha may have mentioned the other intelligence is non-thought. And so they said, from the before pre-Buddha, thought must be suppressed, controlled. But that's meditation.
Yes, I know all that. I know all the things you said, sir.
Which means what? That which is intelligence cannot be found through thought. Therefore, suppress it.
No, I accept that. I just want to ask you, do you feel that they had some intimation, some insight into this other thing?
Perhaps. I don't know enough. The pros would say they had.
Who would say?
The pros, who believe all that stuff. And if those who kept it about say they don't know nothing about it. The scientists would say it's all rubbish.
But purely as an aside, as a digression, if somebody told you, suppress thought, curtail it, end thought, wouldn't you feel that the person had some insight into something? Because everyone else is saying refine thought, improve its quality. Think better, think more. And we have somebody who's saying...
No, but they might have said this. Thought, oh yes, I must tell you this. Thought is the child of barren women. I've heard this statement. Thought is the child of barren women. Which means what?
It's not creative.
It's a thought.
No, what I was saying, the reason I'm pursuing this is what I said a little earlier to you, that if the computer scientists in the West know everything about computers and have reached a point where they could create a computer like the human brain, but say they can't do it because they don't know the thinking process and they don't know intelligence.
Those two, stick to those two.
Yes. I wonder whether Indians who were supposed to have done research, in quotes,
that wrong word,
who were supposed to have investigated for 5,000 years the human mind and nirvana, all that. Could there be a possibility of the two getting together to create this?
What two work together?
Indians don't understand this computer technology.
Listen. Pre-Buddha, man might have said there's something, intelligence. Might, I don't say. And the rest, except the Buddha, the rest of them read the things which they had said or transmitted to them, and they've repeated it.
So it has no meaning.
They've repeated it. Okay. There wasn't one original man who said, look, I won't go into all this because I don't know, but I'm going to go into it. You follow what I'm saying? That's a real research.
I understand. And so you answered that question, fine. So that part is out now. I followed that. So we'll come back to this. You are saying the computer
science... I'm glad to have a good mind to meet.
You are saying the computer scientist is approaching it wrongly.
What?
You are saying the computer scientist or whoever is doing this research is approaching the problem wrongly. It's a wrong approach. He's approaching intelligence through the thinking process and he can never reach it.
Yes.
And therefore they're stuck, all of them.
Which means the thinking process is mechanical.
Yes, I accept that.
I know, be careful. Because it's based on knowledge. Right?
Yes.
Knowledge is limited.
I accept
you
that.
Accept
I accept that.
So thinking process cannot...
Yeah. In other words, even if they understand the thinking process and put it on a computer, they still won't have intelligence. So then we come back to this question. How does one inquire into intelligence?
You can't inquire. Because your inquiry is with the brain.
So it starts with
The brain is conditioned to think.
and therefore it can.
If this is clear,
So are you saying that if you really see this, you don't inquire with using the thought process, then there's no inquiry into intelligence. Intelligence it exists, it's there.
no.
Then
Then you have to inquire what is to investigate. You understand? If I'm not using the brain to investigate,
yes.
and it may be there, it may not be there, the intelligence. So I have to discard the employment of the brain. You understand? Discard the employment of thought, which is the brain,
Yes.
which is mechanical.
Yes.
There may be in the brain a part which is not mechanical. I don't know. That we can leave all that out. But intelligence is not the product of the brain.
So if one discards thought,
Not discuss. See, it can't produce.
It can't produce that. Sir.
I want a baby. I can't have a baby.
I follow.
So what have you left? When you are no longer using the brain to inquire.
Would you call seeing and listening, which you talk about,
Crazy.
would you call that the
No,
use
no.
of the brain?
That's no. Huh?
The use of the brain, seeing
Seeing is not use of the brain.
and listening.
Seeing. I don't leave, take one word into
See.
it. Look, I have seen the world through my thinking. I've seen what it has done in the world, what it will do in the world, if it goes on this way. Atom bombs, destroying, etc., etc., right? Which is all the movement of thought.
I follow that.
It has done good things like community, sanitary and so on, community. It has done evil things and good things. We use the word evil for the moment and good for the moment, right? So, but that is not intelligent because it's not producing.
I follow.
So thought can never be intelligent. Therefore I'm saying to myself, I wonder if they're approaching it wrongly. Because they are used to this
Yes.
thinking.
You convinced me, sir, that they won't reach intelligence that way, but they might certainly simulate the human process, the thought process.
Huh?
They would certainly, not certainly, but they would get to know the thought process and
Yes,
maybe
I can tell
reproduce
you
it in a
thought
machine.
process, but damn simple. I don't know what they're fussing about.
And that in itself could be, dangerous and all that. But, yes,
What is happening?
quite. The computer would do it instead of the human
Much
mind.
better,
Much
quick.
quick.
Destroy people much quicker.
But the much more important question is still intelligence.
I don't know if it's true. Who's telling me about it? Doesn't matter. There have been a flyer, the fighter pilots. They have either in their brain or outside the brain. The moment they think shoot, it is shot.
Yeah, and they look at the target and that's aiming. So,
Right.
so
If you are really clear that thought under no circumstances, I maintain that, under no circumstance can have intelligence. Right? If that's clear, then what is the instrument that will investigate that? Right? We have used thought to investigate that. Now I've discarded thought, which is, you follow what I mean? Discarded. Not waiting for thought to pounce on it. Discarded in the sense it has its place, and in my inquiry into that, it's not possible. Thought cannot investigate into intelligence. If you tell that these IBM experts, top people, they will say, what the hell are you talking about? Right? Fortune magazine is based on thought. And they're still pursuing that.
Yes.
I don't agree.
Yeah, I understand.
Then what instrument which is not thought can perceive, investigate, look into intelligence?
Seeing.
Huh?
Seeing.
No, don't use those words.
Okay.
Use your own words.
Right.
Then you will be more clear. You follow what I mean?
I follow. Very difficult. There is nothing except thought.
Fantastic. So you're back again in the circle. And that's why they're stagnant. Because they're moving the same circle. In the same area of thought, and they want to see what is the process of thought. The process of thought is very clear, which is based on memory. Right? Memory is knowledge and so on. The brain is conditioned to that. It has operated for a million years on that basis. And now these experts come along and say, we are going to investigate into intelligence with our brain, which is highly trained. You follow me? Which is still based on knowledge, which is limited. Therefore, their thought investigation can never find it. Right? Now, what is there an instrument that we investigate that will see what is intelligence? Or no instrument at all? You got what I'm saying? Am I making? I'm always saying I've used this intelligence, thought, to investigate that. We discarded that. Now I say, well, I'm searching for an instrument to investigate that.
Yeah.
You follow? Which I'm still fiddling.
That's what I meant. There is only thought. Yeah.
So I say, there is no process of investigation. Right? Now, what is that that's not contaminated by thought, right? What is that that has not the past, the future, the present time element? Right? Are you clear? The time element is thought. So it has not that quality of mind, we use that word in a moment, which is not of time, thought, tomorrow, yesterday, memory. You follow? Right? Right? That mind is intelligent mind.
Why do you call it?
That is intelligence.
Why is that intelligence?
I'll show you in a minute. First of all, we have admitted thought cannot produce it.
Yes.
And there is no instrument that can investigate it.
Yes, because the instrument would be thought. Yes.
Not only thought, surreptitiously, unconsciously, inquiring, waiting to catch something. Right? All that is not investigation. They cannot investigate it that. Right? You admit that once. No, logically, I mean reasonably saying, it cannot be done. Right? Then what happens to your brain? What happens to your inquiry? What are you inquiring? You want to know what is intelligence. Right? Right? Moment you deny totally thought, that is intelligence.
May I ask you, sir? One doesn't know what is intelligence, obviously. So, when one...
Why do you say one doesn't know?
One doesn't, because one doesn't...
You're not answering my question. Because you're saying thought must know.
No, sir.
Wait, sir, don't say no. When you say I don't know what intelligence is, right? How will you know it? You can never know it. Knowing means accumulating, seeing, accumulating, acting.
I follow that, sir. I follow that.
If you have followed that, then what is? There is no instrument of inquiry.
I follow that, sir.
Right? Therefore what? That state of the mind which has put away thought, which is not inquiry. Inquiry is based on all kinds of things. So what has happened? We use another word for it, insight. Insight is not remembrance. Is not the accumulated knowledge which is thought. It has nothing to do with time. To see something instantly and act instantly, that's intelligence.
Yes. And are you saying that, yes, that
To see war, all the complications of war, the appalling.
Are you saying that intelligence or that state of mind doesn't exist because of one approaches it through the thought process?
Yeah. If you are clear, like a cobra is poisonous, if you are as clear as that thought can never under any circumstance produce that. Therefore you wipe away all inquiry. These people, IBM, we'll use IBM for the moment, Japan, are using thought to create a machine which will be what did you
Supercomputer.
What?
A supercomputer.
Supercomputer.
Towards the human brain, mind.
Intelligence. What did you call that intelligence?
Thinking process.
No, intelligence, which is unnatural intelligence.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial, that's the word. They are working to create a brain which will be like ours, which will be mechanical. Right? They are using the brain with their tremendous knowledge of computers and been working at it to produce a brain which is based on thought.
Absolutely. In fact, they are using the model of the human brain to copy it.
Yeah.
So everything the human brain does, they're trying to copy. Therefore, they're trying to understand
The brain,
how the brain
which is thinking.
Sure. I followed that part of what you said.
Now, if you're very clear, not follow it, it's like seeing something true. There's a pond out there, that's a fact. You got 2 children, that's a fact. So this is a fact, not to be argued, discussed. I can go into it. You can argue endlessly, but the fact is that, still, at the end of it. The thought under no circumstance will have the other. And so you have no thought as an instrument of inquiry, then you have nothing else to inquire. You can't inquire. The way the word denies him.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So, then, what is intelligence? Not inquire. You follow what I mean? Look, sir, I want to inquire into what is truth. I don't know what truth is. I know I've read about it in philosophies and so on. I don't know anything about it. I don't want to depend on anybody, all these words. So I wipe my mind clearly of all the past intimations and descriptions and some people who have God and so on. I discard all that. They may be totally wrong, maybe I don't know. Right? I don't know. But I want to find out what is in supreme intelligence. That's what they're working for. Not casual intelligence. Not the intelligence of the Pope. Right? or Mrs. Thatcher. They want to find out what is intelligence. So do I. Right? And my brain says, inquire, go into it, find out. First I discard everything I know, I've been told. Right? So now the only instrument is I thought, I clear thinking I have. Because I've been trained, that's like how it comes. That's secondary importance. I've got a very good brain to think clearly, objectively, not sentimentally, personally, etc. Think objectively, very clearly. So, and thinking, I see, but if thinking will produce that, then it's on the same level as thinking which will produce war, which produced Miss Thatcher. It's on the same level. Therefore, it's not intelligence. So, thinking under no circumstances will have the perception of that. I must be absolutely clear on it. Because if I'm not unconsciously, deeply, thought is going to interfere. Right? Right? And before anything else, I want to clear the board. Is that possible? I see what they are doing, they won't get this. They'll create a mechanical, artificial intelligence, which is better than our intelligence. And our intelligence may use it to destroy the world. Right? So, thinking and all the instruments thought is invented to investigate into that, meditation, various types of meditation, various types of silence, various types of self-denial. These birds won't accept all this. But their inquiry has been that. And they haven't found it. They've translated Jesus, Vishnu in India, or some saint. You follow? They're attached, anchored in Jesus, and from that anchorage they move, which is thought. I don't follow that.
I follow it.
Huh? So if I'm very clear that thought can under no circumstances come to that, then what have I left? You follow me? What have I left? To see that thought cannot produce, that is part of the intelligence. Right? Which is non-mechanical. I don't know if you follow this. You didn't use thought to see this. Your thought is limited. Right? You accepted a fact, you saw a fact. There's no thinking in seeing a fact.
I understand that.
Ah.
I understand it. My problem is slightly different, sir. It's not enough to see that thinking is not intelligent.
Yeah, but to accept that is fairly simple.
It's fairly simple.
Huh?
It is fairly simple.
but the implications of it, the inwardness of it,
That's what I want to know.
that's what it is. If you pointed out to the writers of the fortune, that article, your statement, what would their reaction be? This kind of mystical.
Yeah, quite. It would be good. But what I'm saying, sir, is...
No, what? And yet these are the people trying to find that.
Sure, exactly. What I'm saying is, sir, these are the people trying to find that, and it's clear they won't find the intelligence in it. Repeat the thinking process. There are other people also trying to find that. People you've been talking to for so many years.
They're not.
They're also trying to find intelligence or whatever you call it.
No, because they haven't really gone into it. They'll repeat what I've said.
Yes, so this is what I'm saying, sir. When you say thought is mechanical, intelligence cannot be the product of thought, it is clear.
Huh?
It is clear.
Yes, because you have applied your brain to
Yes.
go into all this bloody stuff.
Yes.
Sorry.
But it is not enough. It does not mean...
It's not enough.
It does, yes. It does not mean that thought is found its proper place, to use your words, or that there is intelligence. See, this is the problem. To see something is not enough.
No, to see that you don't know. Right? Because they're always saying we know. So far we know. We have progressed from 20 years ago to its present state, which has been so rapid. Right? They know.
Sorry.
They are starting from a basis of knowledge. That's what I'm objecting to.
Who are you talking about, sir? The computer science?
Computer people.
No, leave them aside, sir. But
And look at, no, all right.
because,
And I want you to see this. That's what I...
yeah, that is what I want to talk about.
Of course.
The person who has listened to you,
What?
the person who has listened to you, who sees what you say, sees what you say about thought and intelligence, does not become intelligent.
No.
So there is something missing in this.
Of course there is.
And what is that? So that is why I say it's not enough to see.
No, they don't see, sir. You take it for granted. They see.
No, I'm talking about myself.
Do you see? That's what I'm keep on repeating.
So you said, and see the implications.
The inwardness.
This is, to me, the danger point. The seeing of the implication must be still within the insight realm and not lapse back into seeing through thought the implications of what has been perceived
Of
as
course,
truth.
sir.
That's the danger.
I see a map, right? The whole of Europe. It's there. I don't have to investigate the map. It's all there. But I want to investigate a particular point where I want to go to. I don't know if you follow.
I follow that.
Their minds, or one's human mind, is the point where they want to go to.
I see that.
They don't see the whole of it. Now, when you see that thought is not the instrument which will produce intelligence, you've seen the whole of it. Or you are only seeing one direction, one village in the map. I don't know if I'm conveying this. Right? That means, can your brain observe something whole, right? without any kind of fragmentation. So, intelligence is not fragmentation. We put it there for the moment. And the brain, which is investing, is fragmented, broken up, whatever word functions in a very small field of knowledge. So this cannot see that. So really feel this in your blood.
What does that mean, sir?
So, wait a minute. Do you see something like organized religions have no place?
Yes.
Why?
Did you see what has happened? You see what has happened with organized religions?
No, that means what? You are approaching by reason. You get what I'm talking about? You see what is happening, the division of religions, division of blah, 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 and from that you conclude how absurd this is.
I follow what you are saying. It's possible.
You don't have the insight to see it's wrong.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
So when you do that, reason, logic, you're exercising the thought. And through thought you come to a conclusion. Right? And then you say this is all absurd. Now can you have an insight which is without logic, wrong, but having seen that it's wrong, use logic?
I follow that. I see what you're saying here.
You're getting it. So, in the same way, see, thought cannot do this. Of course you have exercised, in talking to Abu, we have exercised logic, reason, and say, of course it's quite clear. It's not. Your logic has made it clear. Not perceiving it. You see the difference? And now we see that that process doesn't lead anywhere. Mr. Thatcher has concluded very clearly, very strongly, that you must be very strong, not weak, to fight. And God Almighty might talk to her and she won't even listen. So what do you do? You who have exercised, you follow, thought about all this, computers, you've gone into it, worked with them, discussed with them, you're still following the same employing thought, reason, logic, facts, conclusion. Right? Okay. You see that?
Now may I ask you something else? If, in order to see that, and to live like that,
no, just first see
that.
Then you live with nature.
No, that is my question.
Don't put the other way around. To live like that, I must do this.
That's what I'm asking. Is it to see? Is there an environment which is important in order? No.
This is our environment. Wherever we are is our environment. If we
If you are in a hotel room in London, there would be a room sitting there, it would be that's our environment, we would be talking there.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But, sorry, to come back to this business of environment. If I'm with you, it's different from when I'm not with you. If I'm with someone else, or if I'm with you, it's totally different.
Of course.
So the environment is different. Really.
No.
What is different?
Not environment.
What is it like?
Here, I'm forcing you to look.
Yeah.
I'm forcing you, in quotes. Pushing you. There nobody is, they're not pushing you. They are thinking in the same way. Therefore you're used to that, that's nothing.
Yeah. So it becomes very important. So this is a trap, to have you push.
Yes. It's very important, go to the right doctor.
That is what I...
Of course it's important. If I have trouble, I go to the right doctor, if I can find him. So don't bring the environment.
No, I've left that out now.
We are now stimulating each other. Right? I'm stimulating.
Yes.
Listen, when that stimulation is gone, you're back. Which is your environment.
Yes.
Right? Now, to see this is no stimulation. You see it or you don't see it. It doesn't require stimulation. We have been stimulated. We have discussed this for nearly an hour. And so you're beginning to see the nature of it. Right? If we had in a couple of days here, steadily working, thinking, you would say, but that is so. You're beginning it.
Yes, that's the feeling I had when I was talking to you.
Yeah.
So that's the sense I meant about environment. So that is important.
But if you treat it as a drug,
No, of course.
and you
No, of course. Because I feel that when I'm with you, it's different from when I'm not with you.
of course, naturally.
When I'm not, which is most of the time not with you, it completely overwhelms, overpowers, whatever.
Of course,
this
naturally.
thing. And it comes back when I'm with you. So what is the sensible thing to do to stay?
Or not stay. I would, as you have other things to do, I would meet very often. Till you're soaked in it. I'm soaked in the sense yourself. Not repeat, because and see you're burning with it. Maria has been with me for years. How many years?
16, 17.
17 years. Huh? Could you go in or discuss this with him? Like this?
With Asit?
Asit. Not discussing the same, so that you see it and are conveying what you have saw, what you have seen. That thought cannot produce intelligence. Would you? No, be serious. This I'm not just fooling question.
can't guarantee it. But
No, there's no question of guarantee.
No.
Either you can or you cannot.
You can only do it when you've done it. I mean,
So you haven't done it. So you have listened, and what? You haven't done this, say, look, this is so. You follow what I'm talking about?
I mean, done it in the sense of discussing it.
No.
You mean discuss? Have I done? Because I've seen this.
Seeing it from discuss from there, not the other way around.
Right, I understand that absolutely.
So, we can do this a great deal while you're at sauna. You follow? Or when you come back from London, let him get to the 30th. Take a man like Jha. He's a pretty bright man. He'll be stumped when he comes to this. Or he will recollect what some ancient has said and say that is so. You follow it? Yeah. I said that's like flying a kite without a string. That's good simile by Jove.
Krishnamurti, haven't you laid out the very difficulty, or the very reason that people who've listened to you for years and years haven't really grasped it, is that they have listened to the words, they've absorbed it, so forth,
Logic.
but they put it through the whole
Of course.
existing pattern process.
So now wait a minute, of course. How will Asit transmit this thing to those people with whom he is closely associated and say, look, old boys, don't do this, you'll not get nowhere. Would they listen to you?
They won't listen to
Huh?
me. No.
Why not?
This they're going to do in any case.
What?
See, this is the frightening part of it, you see. You can't stop that research. They're going to do that because
What?
they're going to do that research
Through whom?
through thought into creating a supercomputer which can function
Thought.
far superior than most people's brains
That's all.
and robot, because it's economically,
Yeah.
financially, etc., etc. So they will end up doing it, and they will end up creating a world which will make the human mind obsolete. You know, like Darwin's theory of evolution. That is a threat to the human race, which I'm totally convinced about.
What?
I'm totally convinced that that is an incredible threat to the human race.
Yeah, I believe.
And I also am convinced that they will do. There's no way of stopping it.
Asit, will they consider that they have cracked the mystery of intelligence then?
Yes, you see, that is it.
They will say, we know
That's right,
intelligence.
yes.
Here it is.
What?
Yes.
They will have answered the question that Asit said is being posed now, what is intelligence?
They
They will
don't.
create the mechanical thing and say, here it is.
See, because thought is mechanical, and they can do anything mechanically or
Of course, of
electronically,
course.
they will reproduce the thought process better than the human brain, and say they are more intelligent. They use it synonymously,
Of course.
and with all the implications of
Of course,
thought.
of course.
But, and that is frightening, and most people don't realize what's happening. But this is much more exciting and interesting as a human being, as a one person, individually. The nature of this intelligence and what happens when a person has that intelligence.
Of course.
And I've been wondering to myself a lot, why this dichotomy of what I call the environment, but essentially it's you. a total change taking place every time.
Suppose, you were here for a fortnight or a month, and we discussed every other day, or every day is an hour a day. Would you stand it?
Yes.
No, careful.
You mean during that period would I stand?
I of course, but carrying it out of it.
That's the problem, sir.
Ah.
When you say would you stand it, would I be able to do it during that
Of course,
period?
of
Yes.
course.
That's not the problem. The problem is when you go out, I go
Yeah.
out of the door.
Yeah.
That's when the problem is.
Which means you haven't seen this.
Yes. Obviously.
The turning your back on thought, the whole mechanism of the inwardness, the very turning is intelligence. Actually, if you tell them, the IBM people, that you are approaching the problem wrongly, because you are still employing thought as a means of creating intelligence. Right? They won't even listen to you.
They might listen, sir.
Listen.
They're very,
They're bright people.
bright people.
Of course.
But they will still continue doing that.
Yes.
Good. They are also, they are pushing the frontiers in their own way, and they're very bright, and they've reached this point, sir, which is astonishing.
Of course they're intelligent. Otherwise they will create all this.
Quite.
If you were to say these things, like turning a light on, if they're so intelligent, wouldn't they see that this is a totally new direction that is necessary to pursue? No matter how that they would pursue it wrongly, perhaps, if they're that bright and can see even part of the implication of this, wouldn't that be enough to light a fire?
One would imagine it would be. But when you see that so many of Krishnamurti's books have been published, and they're available. Why? Because they are the kind of people who would go into bookstores, read books.
No, because it's not Dr. Krishnamurti, PhD, working in Boston.
Probably, I don't know, but these sort of people don't read,
Of course.
books that Krishnamurti
Maybe they
wrote.
will begin to read them now, because now they've reached this point. And maybe methodically now they'll go through all the literature on the human mind and the thought process. Well, maybe now they'll start doing it. Till now they didn't need to, probably, for their research. Maybe it's quite possible now because they're trained to be methodical.
Would you, with some of them, would they come? Forgetting I'm nobody, you follow, I'm just an Indian who has got some kind of something to say.
I can find out with one or two people, if it's possible. I can find out. I can
You
find
see, you are going to Canada, New York to meet these people, some of them,
Yes.
and then move it to India.
Yes. The technological aspect of it.
Yeah, which is this, they are going to repeat that.
Oh, yes.
And the Indian mind is just like any other mind. Probably much cleverer because they've been at it for 4,000 years.
Good.
Oh,
This is very interesting. If most people who have got a mind which is trained mind, if they have a problem or they want to know about something, the first thing they do is to read everything they can about it. to read everything they can about. Then they find something very interesting, the article or book, then they try and meet that person and talk about it. It's an instinctive trait.
Of course.
So maybe this will begin to happen now in terms of these people. Maybe. I feel very strongly it will happen. That if they come across this block now, what is the thinking process? What is the mind? It's almost like they're tapping their own computers and saying, please print out everything that has been written about the human, who has done it, what are the books. And I would be surprised if within the next 2 or 3 years they do not in fact come on their own.
Right.
Yes. But
Maybe even speed it up.
yeah, maybe if I meet somebody I would talk about it and try and see it, because it would be a very, very interesting thing to do. Because there are actual people doing it, you see.
What?
They are the actual people trying to put the human mind on the computer.
You remember that chap? I met him in whose house last time I was there, which was in January. Who went to you? Alexander, is it?
Alexander.
He's the
He's a top
Indian,
civil servant.
Indian.
Top civil servant.
and helping Mr. Gandhi.
Gandhi, yeah.
He, Ja and I were discussing something, I've forgotten what was it. He went and told, oh, by Jove, this man has the greatest brain in the world, or whatever he said. Now, you follow, he does say, by Jove, this is important. I'm going to go into this. But he's too occupied. Two top secretary, whatever it is. And John too. He's damn clever man.
Oh, absolutely. But I was thinking to myself this, instead of flying to New York tomorrow to meet Ja and meet a few Indians, to transfer technology to India, which I'm totally convinced will not happen, because no matter what my aunt says, the Indian government will not change its position. And because it won't change its position, this won't take place.
But if you said them, you couldn't meet them all tomorrow. If you said them, I have to stop.
I know you're meeting us.
If you said them, look, Hasan, thought cannot produce this.
Let me tell you, these Indians are not even...
What?
The Indians we are going to meet haven't even reached that point. They are interested in technology and making money, sir.
Okay.
So, what we were talking about are people operating at a totally different level.
I'm talking about that.
Yes. I'm not meeting those people on New York. In New York.
You're only meeting
Indians. The whole idea is to meet Indians who have done extremely well, take their technology to India with their money, and the Indian government presumably will help them set up industries so that they transfer of money.
Oh, there's merchants.
Merchants, of course. They're very clever technological merchants, of course. It's a different level. This is also very clever technological merchandise, but it's done by a different set of people. IBM realizes the importance of doing it for commercial reasons. But the people who are entrusted with the job of doing it are not interested in the money part of it.
Of course.
They are the interesting people.
They are the ones.
They are paid by IBM, but they work for IBM because they get all the funds they need
Of
to
course,
do this,
of course. But
all the equipment they
but
need.
you don't get those.
That's the people I want to meet.
Yeah.
Or a man like Simon, who is in Philadelphia, who got the Nobel Prize for modeling systems, the human systems.
Come in, I'm coming.
A man like that would do.